ASMR. Because, like McNaughty, Mac is another nickname that I am often called by friends and family. And I think that that's a little bit better for an ASMR channel. I really want to say thank you to everybody for giving input and for having a stake in the name of the channel. I think that it was cool that so many people participated in that poll and left comments. I think after considering your feedback and after just doing some thinking on my own, it makes the most sense to me to have a channel name that more accurately reflects the type of content that I post. And with a name like McNaughty ASMR, I mean, you guys have probably discovered that's not the kind of content that I post here. So, I think it was a good change for the better. I think it'll be easier to reach other people with a name like that. And I also just enjoy that it's another nickname that friends and family call me. And so, you guys are my friends. And I don't know, I feel like it's just kind of a personal thing. Like, people who know me call me that. So, anyways, that's a long way of saying I've made the change. And I hope that you guys are okay with it. I know that change can be weird, and we'll have to see how different things will be, but for the most part, I think everything's going to be pretty much exactly the same. I'm the same person. I have the same thoughts. I have the same, video ideas. So, nothing really is all that different. Hopefully, you guys are alright with the change. But I don't know, guys. I feel like it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've been able to catch up with you. I feel like we talk only every other week or so now, if that. And that's obviously on me. But things have just been crazy busy. And I just now found a spare moment to sit down and record. So I hope you can forgive me for my terrible upload schedule. I really do want to get something hammered out and dialed in that will be consistent. But guys, I have a lot of things that I could tell you. I'm just trying to narrow down which one to start with. I hope that you're in for a nice little ramble video, life update style video. I guess for one, I took the LSAT and I got an acceptable score. It, honestly, if I'm going to be totally real with you guys, it wasn't what I was hoping for. And that is not a fun feeling. That is not a fun feeling, because I'm pretty sure earlier on in this channel's history, I made a video where I'm like, you know what, I felt so good about it. I felt so great. I think I did pretty good. Maybe you guys can relate to how it feels when you thought you killed a test, and then you get the results, and they're either average or poor. And honestly, the score wasn't bad, because I've actually been accepted to a school already, just based off of that. But it wasn't what I was hoping for. And I'm in a tough spot now where I'm trying to decide whether or not to retake it or just run with it, just start school, just get it over with, get into it, take it head on, you know what I mean? So that happened. But like I said, I've been applying to schools. I've applied to, I think, 3 or 4. I got into one, which made me very, very happy. And they offered me like a really, really good scholarship too. So I was happy about that. But, so really, I guess I have no real reason to be disappointed, because at the very probably just here to hear some guy whispering, so I might as well go off on that for a minute because it's a lot to talk about. Oh my gosh. So, truth be told, there was a girl that I was interested in romantically. We met playing a game of pickleball. It was a lot of fun. I didn't know her name. I didn't know who she was. I just ended up playing a game against her, and she was very good. She was very competitive. And if you guys know me, you know that I like to play pickleball. You know that I can kind of get a little competitive athletically. And so we played against each other, and I would hit the ball as hard as I could at her to see how she would handle it, if she could get it back to me, if she would return it. And she hit it back twice as hard. She was insanely good. And I thought I had a blast playing against her. We had very competitive games, and then afterwards, I walked up to her and I was like, hey, like, you're very good at this. You should come with me this weekend and we can go get an official player ranking. And she said, that sounds awesome. I've always wanted to know my ranking. And so I'll be there. And so later that weekend, we went to this tournament together. We both played. We both got our scores. And we had a lot of fun. So much fun that we decided we wanted to keep playing against one another. And so for the next week or so, I'd call her up and I'd say, hey, you ready to play? And she'd always be down. We'd go and we'd play a few games. And it was a blast. I was having lots of fun. I was getting to know her. We would sit down in between matches and we would just talk. We'd go get drinks. And then at one point, I decided I wanted to take her on an official date. So I called her up and I said, hey, let's go out to dinner tonight. I know you're used to just playing me in pickleball, but let's go get dinner. And she was very excited about that idea. So I picked her up. We went to dinner together, and then we walked around the mall and just talked and got to know one another. And it was so much fun, and I felt very comfortable. And I can tell that she felt comfortable. And I can, you know how you can kind of just observe when someone cares about being in your company or not, you know? Like, you know when somebody is just putting on a face and just tolerating you or disinterested with the things you have to say. Well, that wasn't really her. Like, I could tell that she was interested, kind of thing. And it was evident in the way she spoke, the things she would say to me. And she was sharing a lot about her life with me. And of course, when you're vulnerable with others, that's a sign that you trust them, right? That's a sign that you want them to in turn be vulnerable back. At least that's how I see it. Because you don't just share very personal things with other people if you have no interest in continuing a relationship with them. Or at least that's what I think. Maybe I'm misled. But anyways, yeah, we had a lot of fun on this date. I took her home. She said, hey, let's go on another one. I said, that sounds like a good time. Let's do it. So we went on another date. We went and watched a movie. It was pretty much the same format. We talked, had a lot of fun, got along really well. Said, let's do it again. And I was really starting to feel strongly. Towards her. I felt like we had a lot of things in common. I definitely found her attractive. She was very easy to converse with. I agreed with a lot of her takes on the world. We listened to the new Taylor Swift album together. together. And it's a freaking long album if you guys have heard it. You know, we bonded over that. But, jeez, man. So, I need to get to the gist of this story so you know why this is dramatic. So, one day, she calls me up and she informs me that there is an outdoor movie going on and she wants me to go with her. I was like, okay. That immediately to me sounded like a date. I mean, you can tell me whether or not you think the same, but she's picking me up. She's planning ahead of time. She's inviting me somewhere. It's just her and I. I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. I would love to go. So I told her, yep, let's go. So later on in the day, right before the movie started, she came over and picked me up, and we went to McDonald's. And it was just pretty much the same as all the other times we spent time together. We just talked, and we caught up, and I really enjoyed her company, and I felt like she was really enjoying mine. And anyways, we drive to this movie. We lay out a blanket on the grass. She sits down. I sit down next to her. And more so than watching this movie, we just kind of talk. I'm asking her all kinds of things and getting to know her better. And she's telling me all kinds of things. And she's asking me questions. And this is when things start to get bad, because up until this point, the evening has been going great. This guy walks behind us. We're both sitting on a blanket facing the movie screen, but we're kind of just talking to each other. This dude walks behind us, and he looks at her, and he says, "Oh, no way, it's..." and then says her name. And then she looks up at him, and she's like, "Oh, no way, it's..." and says his name. And I kind of turn around, and I vaguely recognize this dude from somewhere. But they start chatting, and it is quickly apparent to me that they've been longtime friends, and not even just longtime friends, but family friends, because they're talking about each other's parents, and like, "Oh, how's your dad doing? It's been a long time since I've seen him. Oh, blah, blah, blah. How's your sister? How's your whatever?" And so they're just kind of catching up, and he's kind of just crouching next to our blanket while they're talking. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, if you see an old friend, obviously say hi to them. That's fine. And so I'm just kind of sitting there listening to them talk for a minute, and I say hi to him, and I introduce myself. I'm like, hey, whatever. And then he quickly turns his attention back to her, and they just start chatting up a storm about things they'd done in the past, and places they'd gone, and it's obvious there's a lot of history between the two. And I'm starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable, because I thought it was just going to be a, "Hey, how's it going?" in passing, but it's turning into a full-blown, like, 10-minute conversation. And I really am not all that involved in it for the most part. So this is when it gets kind of wild. She says, "Hey, how about you have a seat, sit down on the blanket with us?" And I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, make yourself comfortable, I guess. Join us." And so he's like, "Sure." And he sits down, and he's not quite in between us, but he's like definitely closer to her than I am, and he's sitting towards the back of the blanket. And they just keep chatting up a storm. And he's saying all kinds of flirtatious stuff too, so it starts to get a little bit more romantically charged, which makes this all the more uncomfortable for me. a blanket together alone before he showed up, so hey, maybe there's something going on between the two of them and I shouldn't interfere with this. But no, he's like, oh my gosh, like it's crazy that nobody snatched you up yet. You're just so gorgeous and you should really consider signing up for the Bachelorette. And he's talking about his job and he's flexing that he made some money or something. And it just doesn't stop. I keep on waiting for them to say, oh, well, anyways, it's good talking to you. I'm gonna get back to my date. And so a few times I just make a comment. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, nice. But I'm not gonna be the person to tell him to leave when she invited him to sit down. You know what I mean? And she's also kind of like throwing the flirtatious stuff back at him, which I think is just insane. But they're full on like making plans in front of me, and they're talking about going to do stuff together. And I'm just sitting there like an absolute cuck, you know, listening to this. And I have just the biggest pit in my stomach, and I'm so like uncomfortable. And it's obvious. I think anybody who would have been present there could see that I was not feeling great about this. But either she saw and didn't care, or she just has the worst observation skills of all time, you know what I mean? So I'm just sitting there for 10-15 minutes, just sitting there listening to these two flirting with each other while I thought we were on a date. And I'm like, okay, I gotta get out of here. This is terrible. First off, I'm interested in this girl, and it sucks to hear her talking like this with another guy, and they're doing it right in front of me. And we were supposed to be here together alone. And so I'm like, I gotta get out of this situation. And so I go to grab my phone and stand up, and I remember, oh, she drove me here. I don't have a ride home. So I like stand up and act like I'm just stretching, but I'm also realizing internally that I don't have a way to get home and get out of here. So I do what I do often, and I pretend that somebody is calling my cell phone. And I honestly fake it. I'm like, oh, hold it up to my ear and start talking to myself to make it look like, you know, I'm talking to somebody and that there's something important happening. So I stand up, I walk away while I'm pretending to be on the phone with myself, and I'm just yapping. And honestly, I look over at them, and they haven't even broken eye contact with each other. They haven't even noticed. And I'm like, dude, I don't care that she drove me here. I gotta get out of here. I'll walk home if I have to. So I turn around, I tap her on the shoulder and just say, hey, I'm heading out. And then I turn around and I promptly leave. And I think she said something. I think she tried to talk to me, but the movie was playing. It was kind of loud. And I honestly just didn't care what she had to say at this point because I was so bothered and uncomfortable that I just kind of walked away, turned my back to her, and left. And I just started walking because I didn't have a ride. So I walk and I walk and I walk. My house isn't super far from this place. It's only about a 15-minute walk, but yeah, here I am, just hands in my pockets. It's dark now, walking on the sidewalk home because I had my grass cut by this stranger and my date just totally ignored me. And so I'm walking home and I'm just feeling so angry and like just upset about it all because I'm like, that is so unclassy. I don't know. You know, like, I'm not even mad if you're interested was familiar with or even attracted to, and then focusing all of my attention on that girl and flirting with her for 10 to 15 minutes. Like, that's just crazy. That is so rude, isn't it? I don't know. I would just say, hey, we'll have to catch up later or something, and then return my attention to my date. And so, I don't know, I was a little bit worried that I was being, like, petty about the whole thing, too, because, like, I didn't want to be the guy that always needs attention from people, right? Like, I don't. But I felt like you're kind of expected to give your date attention while you're on a date. And so, it was just a very uncomfortable, very awkward scenario. And it hurt a little bit, because I was interested in this girl. And up until this point, we'd gotten along so well. But, anyways, I walked home, and I sat down, and I was like, well, I don't feel bad. I needed to remove myself from that situation. Like, even if it was under weird conditions, it was probably good for me to get out of there. And then she sent me a text, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, where'd you go? And I'm like, oh, I went home. And she's like, oh, why did you go home? And I'm like, you really need me to tell you why I went home? It's not self-evident. Is it really hard to connect the dots? Like, you pretty much stood me up. You know, that was so strange. So I responded. I said, well, I just had some things to do. But I was being very dry, very succinct. And, I don't know, I just was really bothered by that interaction. And she tried to talk to me again after that. She kept messaging me and wanting to talk. And, I just really didn't have much interest in it, you know, after that whole experience. So, since then, I've just moved on and I decided I'm not going to invest my time and interest in somebody who behaves like that while we're on a date. I think that's kind of telling. But, anyways, wow, you guys got every detail. You know all about it now. So, yeah, I wasn't actually planning on telling you all about that, but hey, there was a lot to talk about, and hopefully you found it somewhat interesting. But, that's gonna be where I end this video. I'm gonna try to get back to a somewhat more consistent upload schedule. I have a cologne review coming up soon. And, thanks once again for being patient with me as I've made changes to the channel. I really do appreciate you guys.